Today, I'm here with an artist. He goes by the name Muchi. And I would like to know, how would you best describe yourself in your own words, the type of artist you are and the type of art that you create?
In my own words, I would describe myself kind of just as like, oh, that's a great question. I would say as a regular person, just trying to find a place to express themselves, but also find a way to inspire and help other people express, whether it be art or whether it just be their thoughts. I think if I had to break it down in a couple of sentences, I really would just classify as myself as like just a vessel for a lot of people, and just to be that vessel for people to be able to be aboard of and be able to build their own kind of boat after.
You know, there's a lot that you talk about with, being able to like push yourself. I remember there was a video that you posted on YouTube a few years ago. Do you remember that video at all? Like, it was a message to yourself.
I think I know which one you're talking about. It was the I know I posted one, I believe 2022, and it was like a 2021 video. I think it was like a year apart, and I was just kind of telling myself to like just keep going and whatever happens kind of thing. And then I also have like, I talk about it very often about really just like pushing yourself, because I also have another video that's titled "Feel the Fear, Do It Anyway."
Right.
Like, no matter what, just always trying to put myself into the space of like, it's fine. If you fail, you fail. If anything happens, it happens. But as long as you're actually getting to that point of like, you're constantly doing things that are uncomfortable and you're constantly pushing yourself to get to a point, then that's all that really matters. And I just be telling it to myself really, but like, I just share it because I'm sure everybody else feels the same way sometimes.
100%. And how do you feel about that message for yourself in your current state and like for the future?
I think my current self is really taking it to like, I feel like recent me is really taking it to heart and really just understood the fact of like, it's just a fear. It's just something that you're scared to do, and that's okay. But just as long as you don't let that control how you actually operate and how you actually move, that's what really matters. And I think in the future, it's gonna get only better. I think regardless, I'm gonna always have like those feelings of like nervousness or like those uncomfortable moments where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this or just shit like that. But I think also at the end of the day, that's just kind of something that comes with being human, and being human is beautiful. So I might as well appreciate it as much as I can.
100%. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I feel like everyone feels that way, but they kind of don't talk about it too much because they feel closed off from being able to express those types of feelings and such. So, very great way to put it. I feel like a lot of people like kind of like need that, and they kind of like look for that type of like strength and like courage in being able to do those types of things as an artist, to put yourself on the map in a way, and to just put yourself out there, because if you don't, then you kind of miss that opportunity regardless of even if you thought of it. And that's something you kind of also talk about in some of your videos, where you sit there and you talk about the aspect of the things that you kind of cause yourself to stop doing it. You just think about it and you're afraid of doing it, and you'll never know what the outcome will be unless you actually like go through with that plan.
And I think that's a really big thing that a lot of people don't realize they even do. Like, it's so many moments where I would like be unknowingly and like unconsciously blocking a blessing for myself just because of some thoughts that I have that aren't even actually real. They're just literally thoughts, but I'm so focused on them that I actually let them block off what I really want to do, or just like what I'm really trying to get towards. And I think I just never wanted to have that kind of barrier for myself. I feel like
The barriers are just like, it keeps you confined to one thing in a way almost too.
especially when it's not a real barrier, and like especially with what you were just about to say too. Like, it's huge.
So I want to like kind of dive into starting 2025. You came in strong with your recent project EP titled "The Best Sign 2," which is a continuance of 2024's "The Best Sign." And as shown in your discography, your beat selection, emotional connection to the track, themes, and ability to naturally flow on them is very impressive. It makes people feel what you're putting out. Dealing with themes related to being the one who is in control of your story, having that hunger for it, and proving to the world that regardless of what it is that you face, that you're still pushing through regardless of life's challenges. Just like clay, it starts off as a ball of clay, waiting to be molded and sculpted into its final form. When working on this project, what was your initial creative thought when starting this project? And if any, what challenges have you faced while working?
That's a question for me. Golly.
Sorry
I would say,
you.
no, you're good. You're good. That was a great question. I think the best thing that really led me to this project was just knowing that like the first one, The Best Sign, was just really like a spot for me to not only talk about my life, but also to really talk about just the kind of work and like the effort I've been putting in to get to where I'm at, and even to the furthest point of where I wanted to be. Just having that space to actually allow myself to, one, tell my own story, but also be able to tell the side of the story that a lot of people don't see, the actual effort, the actual passion and grind that goes behind it. And the Best Sign 2 is really the Best Sign was really my way to just tell that story and let people actually see what it looks like. And then the Best Sign 2, it wasn't even planned to happen, but I was still in that like space of zone and just like that same space of trying to fully show that like I'm working for this, and like this isn't me like on no hobby. This is not a hobby. This is not a passion project. This is my career. This is my life. And the Best Sign 2 is really just my way of like really solidifying that. Like it's a lot of things on this project that people would consider like braggadocious, but it's not braggadocious in my consideration. It's like not even a manifestation, but like it's really just a putting it into the air of what I already know what's gonna happen because I'm working for it. And it's like I know what's next because I'm the one putting in the effort and I'm the one actually putting it all forth. I think that was really the main reason the Best Sign 2 even exists, and just why that even sequel of music exists in that sense. Some problems I probably faced while making this project, which is like kind of understanding the headspace that I was in, and also trying to like, with the Best Sign 2, I felt like I was trying to flip the narrative a little bit of the Best Sign, because the Best Sign's really like more of my life story, and it's like less vulnerability, I feel like. And then on the Best Sign 2, I was kind of trying to give it more of like vulnerability, but then I realized I was like tugging a rope that had no reason to be tugged, and I just needed to allow myself to have the kind of thoughts and like expressions that I was trying to get off and just get them out. And I feel like while allowing that room, I ended up being more vulnerable than I ever had been, whether it had been like for example, my baby boy is literally me breaking down how bad I hated working at the job that I had at that time frame. Then something like I Deserve It All, while it might not seem as personal, it's extremely personal to me, because it's like, it's me telling you like I've done so much and I put so much effort in, like this is mine. And there's moments in my life and just in my career where I wanted to give up, but I didn't give up because I know that there's so much more for me to do. So just like allowing myself to have that vulnerability was kind of a problem at first, because I was thinking of it in a different sense. I was thinking in order to be vulnerable, you have to be talking about something sad, or it has to be about something that's really like emotional. And I realized vulnerability doesn't come from that. It comes from you expressing how you truly feel. And I allowed myself to do that too, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's one thing that like stood out to me like heavily for the second one, because like you said, a lot of people associate like being vulnerable and expressing yourself with sadness, when it's not always that. It never is.
Exactly.
And it's like it is a nice journey from the first track to the last track. They all like, I feel like there are a lot of things that people that do put in the work and do take that energy and time to like really focus on their craft and show love, true love to what they're doing. I feel like it's not wrong to feel like that, and being able to hear someone else, talk about that type of feeling for other creatives that do also feel that same way, I feel like is a relief as compared to hearing a lot of more sad stuff. It could be classified as somewhat sad to a certain degree, but it's not like, like super like down in the dumps type of sad. It's like wanting that recognition for something is truly worth it, knowing that your art like means something and it has credibility in the world.
And I think that was really the main thing I was trying to get off with the Best Sign, and even the Best Sign too. Just like, I know I'm not owed anything, and I never will assume that I'm ever owed anything. I can do everything I need to, and I still am not owed where I should be at, or at least where I think I should be. But I do think that if anyone wants to deserve it, it's me. I put in so much effort and, again, just passion and everything into it. It's like, even when I know I'm not owed anything and I'm not expecting anyone to give me anything, I know that I am owed the things that I am looking for, because I am putting the shit behind it.
The shit that you're putting into it, going back to what you talked about almost 2 years ago, you were talking about how like in late 2020, you kind of started realizing that you kind of start to need to do things your own way and on your own time, and that relying on others, doesn't always work out. And even if they have your best interest, sometimes it just still doesn't work out. They don't like help push that vision, so you have to push it yourself. And you started picking up programs and started learning your production and stuff at that time. When you started to pick up more on producing your own tracks, how was that for you? What was the process like of starting your career and trying to do production on your own?
I think it was a really freeing experience. That was also around the time of where I started like recording myself as well. So I was like doing pretty much everything from scratch, and I had no ability to really do it. So it was very freeing, but also very, I don't know how to put it. It was like a lot of work, but it also wasn't something that I was dreading. It was something I really enjoyed to do. I was really in love with the process and system. And I also think a lot of people don't allow it, but I allowed myself to be so average and like bad. I'm not even gonna say I was bad at that time, because I truly don't think I was, but I think
I'll start off some
at the time. Yeah, exactly. And I allowed myself to be average and okay at it. And I think a lot of my greatest ideas came from me being average at it. Granted, I'm not Pharrell or like anyone on that standard yet. I'm getting there, but at the time of when I started, I was extremely average. I wasn't like the best producer, even in the underground. I wasn't the best producer in the household. So it was like allowing myself to be quote unquote bad, allow myself to let my bad ideas come out and actually be able to just put them out there, and also not focus on them so hard. I think that was really like, it was just a really freeing experience. And I think also being able to just always be ready on my own time and always never have to rely on anybody. Even if I do want to work with somebody, I never have to be like, oh, I can't do this because I don't know how, you know? I think that was very freeing and just a beautiful experience overall. It also allowed me to like get to a point of where I was becoming self-sufficient, and the more self-sufficient I've become, the more I've recognized that what I actually want in my production and just want in my music in general. So I think it was a really big step for me, just in the fact of like, in order to be that director or like that leader that I want to be at some point, I allowed myself to kind of understand what I want in that aspect. So it allows me now to share it.
Okay. So for like when you started to kind of get the gist of things and figuring stuff out for yourself and feeling confident enough to fully like start releasing stuff, when is most of your discography all produced by you?
So everything on Spotify except like one thing, I believe. There's a song called Broly that my friend Matthias Tyner produced. That's not me. And I think everything other than that, I think the rest is me. And it's just
That's
like
amazing.
a bunch of like beats that I make stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that really is amazing. You know, to be able to tap in with the arts for every aspect of what it is that you're creating, and to be allows you to create that in your head.
But
Good.
I think it also led me to just realizing I get more done when I'm actually doing it than like trying to do it. Cause like when I was like mixing my own stuff and like starting off producing and stuff, I was just like putting it out there. I was like, this sounds good now. And I was just releasing it. And like over time, of course, it's gotten like worse into my ears. But at the time I enjoyed it. I just allowed myself to enjoy it at that time and then put it out and then move on. And I think it was a really good thing, because it was like, not only did I leave history, but I allow myself to even go back and learn more from it than I initially learned. And also let other people learn kind of from the mistakes and like the stuff that I did.
Progress through your craft. It's good to look back and appreciate the progress. So through your discography, you play with many different themes and messages, such as being scared, personal egos, wrong choices, idolization, and which I feel resonates with a lot of people. Your lyricism is authentic and genuinely causes people to think about these subjects on a deep level. It is hard to find artists who can create this level of authenticity and relatability as you do with your work. When playing with different themes and messages, what is one you always find yourself kind of coming back?
I think the message I always get back to, no matter how I come about it, is like not comparing myself and just not letting what somebody else has really affect what I'm doing. I've gotten to it in like 3 songs, and I've told the story pretty much in 3 different ways. There's like I have a song called Stop Comparing Lives, which is just me literally talking about, please stop comparing people. You're ruining our joy and our processes, and allowing us to not be what we are because we got it, a little bit of it from somewhere else. Like it doesn't make sense. And then like When You Had It, which is just me telling the story of like, care about what you have and stop being worried about what other people have, and you'll realize a lot of the stuff that you want, you could have if you were just focused on your own stuff. And that's another theme, but it all comes back to the same point. And even like Proud of Us, where it's like literally me being jealous of somebody that I'm literally like related to blood. And it's like, you have no reason to be jealous. Worry about your journey, worry about your goals, worry about your time, and the rest will come. As long as you focus on what you need to do, you'll get there. And I think that's really a thing that like I'll always try to bring up, because it's a problem I'm always probably gonna have. Not always, but it's a problem that comes up a lot. And I think it comes up in a lot of people as well. Just like, so when you put so much into something and you feel like nothing's working, it's so easy to just look at what somebody else is doing or what somebody else has and be like, well, what am I doing wrong? And why do I have this? And why do I not have that? And I think it allows people to be very hateful. And I just think it's something that consistently always needs to be talked about, whether I'm in that actual space or not. I think just being able to check myself and bring that thing back up and let myself know you don't need to be hateful and you don't need to be like this in order to get to where you want to be. I think it's just something I'm constantly gonna have to bring up.
Through your music, your lyricism is something that doesn't lack luster, purpose, and meaning behind each line and bar. Of the work you've released, what is your favorite lyrical line, one of your songs, and why? And if you can't choose one, what song resonates with you the most recently?
Ooh. Let me see. I don't want to give the typical answer, just say something off of like a recent project. So I have to think for a second. I would say a line that I really like just stick with recently is I said a narrator on my story. Okay, it's like this 4-bar rendition. It's like putting all the passion inside of me out on every flow, putting all the money I'm making into making it blow. They hate in every moment, mistakenly confusing me for a black sheep inside of the room when it's really a goat. And I think that bar really resonates with me just for the fact of like, I was just really letting people know, like, no matter how it comes off, no matter how I look in the room, no matter if I'm the dumbest in the room, the smartest in the room, or any of that, like, you're gonna always confuse me for something that you want me to be, but I know what I am. And I know that I can be the best, whether it's me just being vulnerable or whether it's me just being me. I know that I'm the best in the room because I'm me no matter what. And I think that bar really resonates with me just because of the fact, like, me trying to instill that confidence in myself and always having it is something that's really important. And no matter how nervous or scared or any of that stuff I get, I always know that that confidence is in there and it's always gonna be in there as long as I allow it to come out.
Solid, that's solid. So this one's a little more like a little deeper, but like in the song 2004, from the project The Best Sign, you mentioned that 2023 was like the prologue to 2024 and that this year is just the beginning. Your work shows that truth and progression you have achieved since 2022. 2024 highlighted your strength and consistency with many pieces of visual content paired with stunning snippets of released and unreleased tracks, which I think kept many people engaged in wanting more of that content because it drew great content. When it comes to internal feelings as a creative artist with certain pressures weighing, does it ever become challenging to manage putting out your art at the scale that you do while trying to also balance time for other aspects of your life?
Absolutely. It's absolutely hard and it's absolutely a process. And I think if you can't learn that process, then it's not something you should be doing. And if you can't fall in love with that system, then it's something that you won't be able to do for long. Like even last year, I was doing a video every day. And when I first started, I didn't have common sense. So I was like waking up every day and I was filming every day and posting the video I filmed that day, the day of, and I would just repeat it every day. So it was like, I was making it a lot harder than it needed to be. And then over time, I got a little smarter, just a little bit. And I started like batching stuff and just stuff like that. Like you have to really be organized. And you also have to really understand that like you are one person, whether you have a team or not, you are one entity. And you have to remember that in order for that entity to do as much as it can, you have to be able to do the right chess moves to actually be able to get to that other side of the board. And that was something I struggled with heavy. I even still struggle with it now. I think that's really, just having that balance is key and really keen. And if you can figure out that balance, you can really figure out anything.
So would you say that like it's more a part of your life now, so you've found more of a balance with it too?
I think it's because of the fact that it is part of me now. Like some days I feel weird without posting. Like last year, during like the half mark, when I was like halfway done, it got to a point where it was like, if I don't post, I feel super weird. Like it became a habit. And I think that was really the biggest thing, just making it a habit and also making it something that's like, I identify with. And also just realizing content and like videos don't have to be this huge thing. Like your content model is your life. And if you're living what you love doing, all you have to do is have a camera on. So,
Right. So it just comes natural kind of nowadays.
yeah, a little bit. It's like a bit of half and half. I still have to put like some effort and pressure so I don't get complacent, but it's really just me being me. And that's why I feel like I enjoy making content. I allowed it to just be me.
It's always good to be able to be your true authentic self and what that you're striving to put. With all of the growth you've gained over the past year, what personal achievements have you reached from 2024, start of 20?
Big achievement that I've received this year, well, 2024 to 2025. I would say the biggest one, it's not even like really related to like music or anything. It's just more related to me finding that space of like consistency. Because if you would have asked me 2023 and maybe even the beginning of 2024, if I could have posted every single day and just like consistently put myself out there, consistently worked on stuff and consistently put out music, I would have told you like, maybe. Or I would have told you a lie and I would have been like, yeah, I can do it, but we'll see. And then I end up not doing it. I really proved to myself that I can actually work. I can actually put in effort. I can actually grind. And even with like not posting and just not even on that portion of stuff, me even like working a 9 to 5 that year and just being like, nope, you can't quit. You have to prove something first. You have to prove that you actually can work and actually figure it out. And once you can do that, then you can push all that other stuff away. And I think that was a really big accomplishment for me, man. Like just being able to prove that to myself that I actually work and I actually know how to put in effort and I actually know how to care and I actually know how to be passionate. It was really big for me because it was like something I felt like I never quote unquote had, and I proved myself wrong. And I was so happy.
Right. Oh, that's really good because most people would kind of, I feel like, start leaning towards more maybe but I feel like recognizing that in yourself over just the music is because being able to like kind of like get your point to what you're saying and like self-discipline kind of in a way. I feel like it's not more so. Would you agree that self-discipline is more needed than motivation in a way?
Absolutely. I think motivation and like inspiration can be very trivial. And I think if you allow that to be the motor that keeps you going, then you'll always never have gas. And you'll always never have a working vehicle. It's like if every time you needed gas, you just hope that when you pulled up to the gas station that there was somebody with $10 to give you $10, you would almost never have gas. But the times of like when there is somebody there and they're like, oh, here goes $10. That's the only times you get gas. It's kind of the same with like inspiration and motivation. It's great if somebody pulls up on you and it's like, here's $10 for gas. And you're able to get yourself somewhere from point A to point B, but you're only gonna be able to do that if you buy your own gas. And I feel like if you allow yourself to buy your own motivation and to allow yourself to be inspired by not anything outward, but like just internally and like by the process and the system, you'll get farther and you'll get so much farther. I think that was the biggest thing I had also of me like understanding that inspiration and motivation is not going to keep pushing me. I have to get something to actually put work, period.
Going more to like in the music scene, physical art, cover art, dance, fashion, film are all big factors that go into creating that world of art you are listeners in. As shown in your Instagram and YouTube channel, you don't stray away from creating visually appealing films that match the chosen trend. From the bouncy, fun, and playful animated visualizer of Who Said to more cinematic tones playing with angles, perspective, lighting, and color grade. Thinking of a visual concept. What process do you go through when setting up an idea and executing it?
I always start with the actual literal manifestation of the idea. Once I'm able to actually see what the idea looks like, whether I put it on paper or not, once I know what it is, I'll figure out everything else to kind of get there. I think a great example would be, I have a visualizer and it's me, my dad, and my mom. And it's like a slow-mo video of me performing The Pressure's on Me, one of my like sadder songs to a camera. And the whole concept of it is it's supposed to feel like you're focused on something and you're like paying attention to something specifically. You kind of have force blinders on and like people around you, whether like parents or whatever, are kind of like nitpicking at you to like do what they want you to do. That was the whole concept of the idea. But even an idea like that, like just having the actual picture of it first before even presenting it to anyone. I think that's really big, and just having the actual framework of it first. And then from the framework, it's really just being willing to do whatever it takes to figure it out and to bring it to life. Like, I can't say that like once I have the idea, I know exactly what kind of lighting I want, and I know exactly what kind of everything I need. I just know that I want it to look like this, and whatever it takes for me to get to that beautiful composition and beautiful framing for that shot and just for that video, I'm really willing to do whatever it takes for it. There's videos where I've shot like 5 angles too, and I only ended up using 2 of them because the other ones just weren't the kind of vision that I was going. Yeah, and I think allowing myself to have that, I don't know, that room to just experiment even on set, quote unquote, it's very important. And I think just allowing myself to know no matter what, I'm always get to the picture. It's very big. So yeah, the manifestation of the idea and then really just whatever it takes to get it done is what I'll do to get it done. I can't really say it's like a specific process.
Right, okay. Like cover art, I noticed that you work with art a lot. Someone who I would assume when the two of you have a project on whether it's a single release, the cover art is always something captivating. Cover art to me is very important. At times determines whether a person checks out the music. Some notable cover arts that should stand out to me were The Best Sign 1 and 2, It's Not Your Lovin', and You Look Better, and Ego Undercover. What is the process like between the two of you when trying to figure out an idea?
It's really it's so funny. It's really a simple process. Art is my dog. So at the end of the day, it's just me and my homie like, yo, I got this and I want it to look like this. Can you make it happen? And he's like, yeah, bro, I can do it. Like, this is a dope idea. Or he's like, no, bro, I'm not doing this. This idea sucks. And we just sit there and we brainstorm for a while. And once we get to a really good idea, it's another one of those moments where we just do whatever it takes. Like for The Best Sign 2, I ended up having to buy like all the equipment for it. So like I bought a bulletin board, I bought like pins and like string and stuff just so we could have all of it. And then he printed a bunch of pictures and we got it done. And it was one of those things that like, we see the vision before we even get to the making process, but I feel like it comes so naturally to us because we're both super creative. And I also think we're on the same kind of playing field when it comes to like creative directing and just our creativity in general. We have very different opinions of things, but we also have we have the same track kind of minds, even with how broad we think. And I think the way of our thoughts connecting in that sense, it's really a simple process. It's kind of like just 2 parallel lines next to each other. They like never touch and they never will touch, but they're so cohesive with each other that like everything just works pretty much.
Right. Just true, authentic type of relationship, energy. It's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you work with any other cover artists?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I was about to say the main person I work with right now is just art. We do everything together, from like visual stuff with covers and sometimes even like video stuff, which is we're really close.
Okay, that's awesome. I would now want to talk about your performances from then to now. 5 performances done. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 5?
I believe so. Yes, and then like a bunch of open mics. I can't count all those.
That's okay. So you've done a good amount in your career. Your first performance was a great first performance, and as the live shows continued, there was more to come. Stage presence along with great breath control showed strength and like just being there. Have you ever had any stage presence prior to the center stage show? That was your first one.
I have not. The only really stage presence I had was like from me being a kid, like in 4th grade and like 5th grade, and like it's a specific memory I have where in like I think it was 5th grade or something, I had like a robot solo and like this thing that we were doing at school. And so like everybody was in the back and then I like stepped up and I started hitting the robot and everybody started yelling. And that's the one memory I have of like any kind of stage presence. I think I just always knew I wanted to do it, and me wanting to do it, I was just always doing it in the bathroom and like mirror and stuff like that. Pretty much how every kid was. They'd just be performing to themselves, and then it led to me doing it in real life. And it was beautiful.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I thought you had some type of stage presence before, cause like you know, really great confidence. Maybe that's just me overthinking like what this performance should look. But I thought that it was like having breath control like that is very challenging, especially when you're moving around and by that, you know. So doing these shows from your first one to now, what have you learned about from performing live in front of audiences?
You have to know how to, you really have to understand what it looks like to throw on a good show, to just give a good experience. I think a lot of people are so keen on just trying to perform and just trying to do it that they lose the aspect of what it actually is. You're trying to give somebody an experience. If you were at a show and people were doing the stuff that you wouldn't want to see in the show, you shouldn't be doing that either. I think the biggest thing is really knowing how to give an experience. And even when everything before you was horrible, you have to figure out how to give such a good experience that even if they hate the entire night, while they're talking about that night, they're like, oh, well, he was cool though, because he did this and that and the third, and he brought this to the table. And I think that's really just a valuable thing that I've learned, bringing something to the table and understanding what it looks like to be valuable and to bring something to the table.
No matter what size the audience was, from a bigger one to a smaller scale, like in a coffee shop, you still gave that same energy regardless of, even in your live performances at home too, you still give that energy. And I think that's also great practice, great like just more progression towards being like perform way that you want to when you're in front of an audience.
Yeah, and I think allowing myself to do all those bedroom performances and stuff like that, I pretty much learned how to do all the actual rapping portions of performing beforehand just from like practice and all that stuff. But now I'm learning more of the actual presence of me, my actual stage presence, just being able to give an experience so good that if there was only one person on earth, they would every time come to see me because I've given them such a good experience.
Outside of the music that you create and the styles you work with, are there any artists or groups that are far outside your style, but you find yourself listening to their music sometimes?
Kind of broad range of music when it comes to like listening to stuff. I've listened to a lot of homies recently, so like people kind of in the same niche and like underground scene as us, but like people like I listen to Moneybagg Yo, and Moneybagg Yo is one of those people that's like completely far from what I do, but I also hear the value of like their kind of music and the kind of stuff that they do, and just like knowing the kind of artists and the kind of people in that range, it's cool to know. And somebody even like I don't even know who would count as kind of in my range of stuff, but like a Dean Martin. I've listened to a decent amount of Dean Martin, and like that's not my range of music per se, but it also just it's a good field of music. I definitely listen to a lot of stuff that like even if I was to never make it, I would still enjoy it. Somebody else that I listened to a lot heavy was like Breakins, and Breakins is so far from what I do, but I love Breakins' work, and he has so many amazing pieces.
What's his stuff like?
It's how do I explain it? It's how do I explain it? It's like an alternate kind of piece of pop with like hyper pop and like glitch core elements to it.
Okay.
He's very like a McGee kind of in a sense, with a mix of a bit of like electronic elements to it, kind of. I don't know if that even is a good explanation, but
I feel like that's a decent explanation. I've never heard his music, so maybe I need to check it out myself sometime. But to know that,
yeah, I was gonna say, don't listen to me. I gotta be fucking up my ass.
No, you're good. You're good. But do you ever like find any not inspiration, but do you ever like find yourself hearing something in something else and then trying to like you kind of like flipping it in your head in a way? Not sampling, but like hearing something and then trying a different take on it completely. Does that ever like influence like any of the production that you work on in your music at all?
I think it definitely does. Just with the fact of like per se a Breakins, he's very heavy on like details, super small details. Like things a lot of people wouldn't hear, and he has a lot of ear candy kind of in his music. And hearing someone like a Breakins or even like a Tyler have that kind of detailing in their music, it allows me to not even per se put a flip on it, but to apply that same kind of detail to my own stuff in just like my own way. I think having that kind of space to allow yourself to take details like that is very keen and very good. And I think no matter where it comes from, whether it's like a movie or like anything, we can take that kind of small detailing or just any kind of detailing from anything and apply it to what you do and just innovate it is very key.
Production side of your tracks, I heard somewhere in one of your videos that you said production is important to you. Process of production is something, I think it was a live performance you did, and you were kind of explaining that to the audience a little bit.
My dad, he has a very good ear with just music in general, like a super good ear. And even with our times and like generations being super different, he still understands what like good music sounds like. So he's definitely helped me with like a lot of even small details with production and like video things, or just anything really. Like what song is it? There's a song that my dad actually inspired a portion of the verse for because of a conversation we had. And I forget what song it is, but there's like a portion of one of my songs that like is heavily inspired by a conversation that me and my father had. And also there's even like a flip of a bar that he ended up having, and I ended up, innovating it to be my own thing. But even stuff as simple as that, my dad is very helpful in that essence. And like he's pretty much a co-writer, and we just sit down and we just make music together, and it's actually really beautiful and it's fire.
So that's still like consistent in like some of the more recent tracks that you've done. Like he still likes to jam out and rock out with us. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Like even on stuff he don't be wanting to do, like the outro to the intro on Narrator, or the best night to Narrator my story. It's like actually a conversation that me and my dad had in the car, and he had no clue I was recording it, but I just clicked it because I knew he's
okay.
Yeah, that was me and my dad talking. And he ended up saying that, and I was just like, wow, like this is what I needed. And I put it on the back of it. Moments like that just spark, and it just happen. And even like super small details, like something as little as like a beat cutout, or like how I say a specific bar, it's influenced by my dad. I wish I did, bro. I so wish I did, but I do not. I had like a little bit of Spanish experience, but that's all gone.
Oh yeah, from early like high school maybe.
Yeah, like high school and like stuff like that. It's all gone.
Okay, no, that's fair. I couldn't learn a language for my life. My brain just would not process that.
I think it definitely depends on who it is. Like there's moments where I'll be hit up by complete strangers that don't even follow me, that don't know me, that have no history of me, but they're like, yo, let's do this and let's do that and the third. And it's just a very distasteful way, I feel like, to go about certain things. I think when you're presenting yourself, you should do it in a very like tasteful way. And I think a lot of people don't understand what that looks like. Even if you don't know somebody, you still have to be able to present yourself in a tasteful way. And I think a lot of my collaborations and just anytime I work with somebody, it was always presented in a tasteful way, even if it was quote unquote unnatural. Like if I was to reach out or somebody was to reach out to me, it just came off still very genuine and very, very right. A lot of my collaborations come from just off rip being like friends with somebody and like actually appreciating them, not only as an artist, but as a person. And that's really what's led some of my best pieces of collaboration to even happen. But then there's also unnatural things, like someone like Milksy, who just randomly DM'd me and was like, yo, my fans keep saying I should work with you. Your fans keep saying you should work with me. If you like me, we should chat or something. And It's like unnatural in that sense because it was reached out, but it also was natural because it was organic and it was genuine, and then it just happened kind of thing. So it's very, as long as you do it tastefully, I think that's all that really matters. The camera switch had the biggest kind of hurdles to jump over because it was, although it was the same brand and even the same kind of lineage, it was like you going from hanging out with my little brother to hanging out with one of their oldest brothers, and just not fully understanding the kind of traditional and culture differences of the actual cameras, I think was the big problem for me. Like I started off with a Sony a6000, which was a camera that didn't even have 4K or like a headphone jack. And then I went from that to a FX30, which has all those things and plus more. So it was like, I understood the fundamentals, but I still had a lot to learn. Like there's still a lot about my camera I don't know fully yet because I just haven't fully dived into it. But that was probably the biggest thing when it came to creatively switching and just making that artistic decision, just figuring out remembering my fundamentals, but also remembering there's a lot more I have to learn. And once I kind of learned that, I figured that out. The same way I get a shot on my oldest camera is the same way I get a shot on my newest. Learn how to be a person before you do anything else. There's so many moments that I wouldn't have even had possible. It's just so many great experiences that wouldn't have happened to me if I wasn't a decent guy and like a decent human being at the end of the day. My personality and just like myself is at a point of where even if I was the worst person in the room at anything, people enjoy being around me. At least I hope. But I believe people enjoy being around me to a point where like, if I was in a room with the most talented person and they were a douche and like a horrible person, and I'm like the least talented person, but I have this kind of way I carry myself, people will rather work with me than this guy, no matter how far the gap is, because I'm allowing people to be themselves, and I'm allowing people to be human, and I'm allowing people to be people. I think that's the biggest thing you have to know. Just on top of all the other things you need, like you need to have discipline, period. You need to have passion, and I mean like real passion. Like you have to be willing to do something for years and never see anything, but because you love it so much, it doesn't matter. You need things like that, of course, but you also need the ability to be charismatic and just be people, just be a person, and understand that the more human value you bring, the more value you bring, period. And the more you're able to just allow yourself to give without any kind of merit back, that's how you really make it anywhere and make it really far.
So from the most recent project you worked on, Best Sign 2, what was the most fun, memorable track to create yourself? Was there like something specific that you were feeling some type of way?
100% 15 Minutes of Fame. I love that song so much. And I just love the actual creation of it. From me getting the sample and just like playing with the chops, it was such a fun experience for me. It was really, I just love that instrumental. I love that song. I love what I'm talking about on it. And it was just really a way of like, I was just really having a good time. I love that so much. I think that was the one that brought the most of me out of me. And it was just a good time.
We know that
100%. And I've even had to deal with it in like recent timing where I'll be talking to like a company or people. It just won't feel right, and it'll feel very weird. And it's a very scary thing to navigate. It's something that I'm even still learning how to do, like just how to navigate through a sea of people that don't want to see you win, want themselves win, and also just a sea of people that actually do want to see that for you. And just trying to figure out how to know what is very big. And it's something I'm really trying to learn even more in recent timing. It's a constant struggle that you'll have to deal with, but I think you're able to tell when somebody's like a person and whenever somebody's really a human. Once you see that human element kind of come out and you actually allow it to be interpreted, I feel like the rest of it won't really matter. You'll be able to figure out whether it's really the right thing for you. And just no matter what, you always gotta trust your gut. Like there's calls and things I've declined in recent timing that seemed all really good on paper, but then there was just something that rubbed me wrong. And yeah, my gut said no, so I didn't do it. I think you just gotta always trust your gut, but also be malleable, if that makes sense. Because there's also things that like you won't trust at first and it'll also be the best thing of your life. So you just have to, you gotta learn that balance, you know?
Thank you for this interview with Muchi. If y'all wanna tap in with him, go ahead and tap in the description below. We're gonna have his tags and everything. There's one last message or anything you'd like to say to the audience?
Everyone that's watching, one, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting anyone that you support. We really appreciate it, and it means a lot more than you know. And also, just be yourself. Be who you want to be, and never let anybody stop you from being that thing.